diagram given in the notes so that we focus more on the steps first. Right? So you can just go over again the standard ISLM first. Point A. Okay, so the economy started at Y1, I1. Okay, and with one level of So we're doing fiscal expansion, so we know we shift IS rightwards. Be a bit careful, right? Because the lines have been drawn, but the first shift is here. The first shift of IS is all the way to the right to IS2 first. To reach point B. Okay, so ignore IS3 first, because it was a completed diagram. So if you are doing from scratch, shift IS all the way to IS2, that's a fiscal expansion, and equilibrium is at point B. Okay, then bring down the income. So you know in this case, NX is negative. Okay, then at point B, bring up the interest rate, I2, and you know there is a net capital inflow. But now you can see the trickiness of the analysis. Capital account is a surplus because interest rate goes up. Funds flow in to buy our financial assets. Income increase, we buy more import. NX negative. So one is a surplus, one is a deficit. And that's where you assign numbers. How do you assign? Check the slope. Flatter BP means F is more than M1. Okay, so you will assign the 5 million, the bigger number, to capital account. Then you double check it is surplus, so it is a plus 5 million. Remember, you can use any numbers you like. I usually use 5 and 1 for convenience. So I will assign the 1 million, the smaller number, because everyone is smaller, to the current account, but I double check it's negative, so it comes with a minus. Right, so adding the two accounts up, I know my BP is a surplus. Okay, and the amount is $4 million. Now, when I do fiscal policy, or when I come across such BP, I will take note of the size of BP. So BP is a surplus of 4 million. So that actually tells me, okay, the main cost is due to capital account of 5 million. Alright, it was a 5 minus 1. So the domineering force or the main cost is capital account. So therefore, I tell myself for BP to go back to 0. I know interest rate must drop. Okay, I have a surplus of 4 million. I must chase it away by letting interest rate drop. And if interest rate drop, but need not return to I1. And this is what I taught you the last lecture. So when I do fiscal policy, I'm very careful. I don't just, where the BP line is, I just go over it. I don't. So I look at my diagram, okay, I'm at point B, and I look at my original interest rate I1, so I put a line across. It means I will not see myself going to point A, because if you go from B to A, you're back to I1. I will not also see myself going to point X. Right? B to X means LM shift. I will not shift to point X at all. B to A is IS shift. If it shift, it will not go to A at all. So you have to be very diligent, very systematic in this first. It takes a few seconds, but it's worth it. Rather than you make a mistake and you keep thinking, oh, everything goes back to BP. You don't. Okay? Then you continue with the analysis. So the BP was a surplus. Okay, the currency appreciate in real terms. Okay, we're going to do it on top. It's easier to see. So E went up. So I know NX negative. IS will have to shift left. Okay, so I look at my diagram. Okay, and I double check. If I were to shift my IS to the left, interest rates drop, income drop. And I need interest rate drop so that I can have capital outflow. So I know anywhere along here is valid. I already reminded myself I don't need to go to A, but I have to shift the IS to the left. So I mark up this zone, right? Okay, to highlight, this is where I will fall. And I double check. I can correct it. Okay, then as I shift IS left, my BP must also shift left. So I put an arrow for my IS, I put an arrow for my BP. So what is the answer? The answer is, go all the way to the bottom, sufficient fall in interest rates. Right, okay, so the meaning of sufficient fall in interest rate tells you as long as it's between points B and C, B and A, so I say. Right, the range that I mark. Anywhere between them, interest rate definitely drops. Okay, that is the point, and we pick point C. So we pick somewhere in the middle for convenience. So that's why you could see, go back to the diagram, between A and B, you just mark somewhere in the middle. Okay, and you draw, just to illustrate, always draw IS first, so that you intersect with LM. Then draw the BP. Okay, so point C is not just random fashion. It was explicitly known. First, you don't need to go back to I1. Two, it was explicitly known the flexible exchange rate will shift IS to the left. So you mark out this zone, green zone. Okay, and it allows you to shift IS and BP all the way to the left. Okay, and in this case you can see, right, at point C, okay, it's definitely higher than point A. Okay, so the new equilibrium point is at point C at higher level of output. Okay, however, I will put there, but output is less than Y2, which is a closed economy. If I compare to Y1, output increases. But if I compare to closed economy, point C, the output is less than Y2. Alright, so in this case you could see, when we want to say whether policy works or not, there's different angles. If you just want to say output increase, definitely the policy works. But now if you want to compare with closed economy, then you could see, right, the policy in this case is less effective. Okay, when you have open economy. So that's why when you read exam answers, there's different answers. You get a little bit puzzled. How come sometimes the examiner say income increase and full stop? Sometimes he comment on closed and open economy. It's totally up to you. Okay, so it's a matter of your reference point. Then the third way to compare is exchange rate system. Okay, now be very careful. This is purely optional. Okay, this is flexible exchange rate. At point B, IF shift left, BP shift left. That's flexible. Some of you, if you are clear, but I make highlight this is optional. If you are doing fixed exchange rate, you will go to here. So mark a point B if you are confident. Fixed exchange rate, you don't use BP. You are at point B, currency is a surplus, LN will shift down. right, you will reach point D. So flexible exchange rate, you are at point C. Fixed exchange rate, you are at point D. Okay, then you could see fixed exchange rate is actually less effective. Okay, right, so there's a typo in your note now. I think they put there more, or I'm not sure, I changed it already. So look at your notes. Please change it to less effective. So in this case, you compare point C versus point D. So in other words, there are 3 levels of comparison. To say whether policy works or not, you can compare with just original output, that's the easiest, that's number 1. Or you can compare with closed economy, still works but not as good. Then the 3rd level is to compare exchange rate, okay, which is actually the toughest. So under a flexible exchange rate, fiscal policy is less effective. So I'm not asking all of you to do all 3 of them. If you can do 1 and 2, you're already okay. Okay, but if you want to demonstrate you are a thinking student, you are very competent in this topic, you should also learn to comment on the 2 different exchange rates.